What's good, YouTube? lttvcombatsportstalk, Combat Sports Talk. And I'm going to get straight to it. As you guys know, Terence Crawford had his fight against David Avanesyan Saturday night. He won by 6-round knockout. And in the midst of all of that, Terence Crawford's gloves had been called into question. Now, the reason for that is both gloves were defected and the fight was allowed to continue. Now, that part shows a little bit of inexperience as well as incompetence on the Nebraska State Commission's part. Because anytime a fighter has any type of defective issues with their gloves, the fighter automatically has to put on their second pair of gloves. That's just automatic. But that wasn't the case Saturday night. The fight was allowed to go on, and what happened happened. Now, me personally, I think it's a bit fishy. I can't really say for certain if Crawford did that intentionally or unintentionally. I can't say for certain. But this situation is very, very suspect AF, and people need to pay attention and start speaking up on this. It's one thing to talk about the Tyson Fury situation, and I've made a few videos about that situation on the channel a couple times, but this one right here deserves that same attention. Now, Crawford doesn't have a history of glove issues, so me personally, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, maybe I shouldn't do it, but just me being my own individual and me thinking critically, I'm not going to come out and say that that man's a cheater. I'm not going to say that. However, I will say that this situation needs to be looked into. It needs to be talked about amongst those in boxing. And there needs to be a thorough investigation done into this situation. Because had Avanesyan lost his life, let's just say, right, he lost his life in the ring, his family would have been suing. Somebody within that commission will have to start answering questions. And then follow that, it'll be a lawsuit. So you can only imagine the big mess that would have came behind it if something bad happened to Avanesyan that night. But thankfully, that wasn't the case. I would say that it's odd because of the fact that Terence Crawford, that he may have known that the gloves were kind of like defected and want to continue to fight on anyway, instead of having a little bit of sense to have a second pair of gloves on his person, or at least somebody within his team have a second pair of gloves on deck. Because anytime any pair of gloves shows wear and tear or the padding's coming off, anything along those lines, those gloves should automatically be removed. And honestly, I don't rock with it because I feel like that was a little bit foul on the commission's part. Because regardless of Crawford having a hometown advantage and et cetera, they still should have did right by Avanesyan and making sure that everything was on an even playing field. Because honestly, it really wasn't. Because Avanesyan, he had the decks stacked against him from Jump Street. And then you add Crawford's gloves looking very, very suspicious. On top of everything else, it's almost like he was dealt a bad hand in that whole thing. And I'm disappointed in the Nebraska State Commission, Team Crawford even, for not having another pair of gloves on them just in case. Because the initial gloves that I've seen on the internet They definitely look defected from top to bottom. You can tell. And the fact that he was able to fight on with those gloves is definitely disgusting and absolutely despicable and a bit messed up. And like I've stated before, there needs to be an investigation, and this whole saga needs to be talked about amongst those in combat sports, because we've had this situation before. And honestly, we as a combat sports community, we don't need to go through this again. We don't. So that's why, in my honest opinion, it's best that many people in the sport of boxing specifically speak on it, get on top of it, and try to see what can be done about it, because it's something that shouldn't have taken place at all. It was incompetence from a lot of parties. And unfortunately, David Avanesyan got the short end of the stick. When I was making the Tyson Fury videos, I did get some flack for making those specific videos, and some may have said that I was biased. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're a Tyson Fury, a Terence Crawford, or etc. If anything looks a bit suspect, from your gloves, drug testing, or anything else, me being the content creator that I am, I have to call that out and call a spade, because I have to keep it consistent across the board. If I can call out one fighter on his gloves, I have to call out the next fighter when his gloves look completely sus. Point blank and period. Now, do I think Terence Crawford is a cheater? I can't say that. But how everything is looking, you just really never know. I won't discredit what he's done in the sport of boxing as a whole. In the welterweight division, he really hasn't done much, to be honest. But in generally speaking, his resume is solid. But when it comes to this fight in particular right here, how those gloves looked and everything else is going to raise a bit of questions. And Terence Crawford himself, since he is his own man at this point, and I'm pretty sure he may get some flack from those in the boxing community and or those on social media. He has to be upfront about what happened with those gloves, because it did look weird as hell. That's just the God honest truth. Now, I'm not going to go off the deep end and, just kind of ridicule him when it relates to this glovegate situation. I'm not going to do that. I'm just simply giving my 2 cents on how I feel about the matter. But I want to get you guys' thoughts before I conclude this video. Do you feel that Terence Crawford knowingly fought with those gloves, knowing that they were defected? Do you feel Terence Crawford is a cheat? Do you feel that Terence Crawford acted a little suspect after the fact? These are questions that I have for you, the people who may come across this video. Leave your thoughts down in the comment sections down below. And that's going to conclude this video. If you liked and enjoyed it, hit that like, hit that sub button, hit that bell, and click also. You never miss any of my videos, and you will see all of my notifications. I'm LTTV Combat Sports Talk. I'm out of here. Peace.